You are lying in bed. It is the middle of the night, and you are almost asleep, and then you hear it. That scratching inside the wall, that quick little skittering across the ceiling above your head. You lie there and you tell yourself it is nothing. Maybe it is the wind, maybe the house is settling, but you know exactly what it is. You have known for a week. There are droppings behind the stove. There is a chewed corner on the cereal box in the pantry. There is that smell, that sharp little ammonia smell you catch when you open the cupboard under the sink. And the worst part is not the mess, and it is not the noise. The worst part is that you know, lying there in the dark, that they are multiplying, because that is what mice do. The Centers for Disease Control will tell you a single female mouse can produce 5 to 10 litters a year, 5 or 6 pups in every litter, and those pups are breeding again within 6 weeks. You are not dealing with a visitor. You are dealing with an invasion that doubles and doubles again, and every night you wait is a night they are chewing your wires, contaminating your food, and making themselves more at home than you are. Now, I want you to sit with this for a moment. There are 3 things you can set up this week, all of them simple, none of them expensive, and together they will do what hundreds of dollars in pest control contracts and fancy electronic gadgets promise but rarely deliver. The first one costs less than a dollar at any hardware store. The second one you can build from a bucket and a tin, can you probably already have. And the third one, the one that changed everything for me, cost you nothing at all, not 1 cent. And it is so simple, you are going to think, I am pulling your leg. Between these 3, I have not had a single mouse or rat in my building for over 7 weeks running, with loaded traps sitting right there untouched the entire time. Meanwhile, there are folks paying $40, $50, $60 a month for pest control subscriptions, buying poisons they are afraid to put near their dogs and their children, and they are still hearing that scratching in the walls. My name is Anna Mae Wagler. I am Amish, and I farm in the Milverton settlement up in Perth County, Ontario. I have been trapping mice since I was a girl, standing on a stool in my mother's kitchen. And before that, my grandmother was trapping them in the same kitchen with the same methods. In a house with no grid electricity, no sealed up modern construction, a root cellar full of food, and grain stores just across the yard, you either learn to handle mice and rats, or you lose a portion of everything you put up for winter. There is no calling a company, there is no monthly service, there is just knowing what works, knowing why it works, and doing it. Today I'm going to show you all 3 methods, step by step. I am going to tell you exactly what to use, where to place it, and why each one works the way it does. I am also going to tell you what does not work and why, because there is a lot of money being spent on things that sound good but leave you right where you started. And there is one part near the end of this, the third method, that is going to sound almost too simple. Stay with me for that, because it is the one that made the biggest difference of all, and there is a reason nobody is selling it to you. Before I show you anything, I want you to understand something about mice, because when you understand how they think, every one of these methods makes perfect sense. Mice are creatures of edges. They do not like open spaces. Their eyesight is poor and they navigate by feel, running their whiskers and their bodies along walls and baseboards. That is called thigmotaxis, which is a fancy word for saying they like to touch things as they move. Researchers at places like Johns Hopkins have studied this for over a century. Mice almost always travel along the line where your floor meets your wall. They follow corners, they follow edges, they return to the same paths again and again. If you understand that one thing, you already know where to put every trap I'm about to show you. You are not guessing. You are reading the trail they are already on. And there is another thing. Mice are curious, rats are cautious. A mouse will investigate something new in its path almost immediately. A rat will avoid something new for days, sometimes weeks, before it trusts it. This matters for how you set your traps and how patient you need to be. I will come back to this. Now, here is where I want to ask you something, and I mean it sincerely. If you are watching this and you are finding it useful, I want you to tap that subscribe button. I am not selling anything. I have no product, no service, no monthly box. I just want the old ways, the ones that actually work to reach the people who were never taught them. The only way this channel gets shown to more folks like you is if you subscribe, and that tells the system to keep sending it out. That is all I'm asking. Now let me get back to it. Let me start with what does not work, or at least what I will not use and why. Poison. I know a lot of folks reach for poison first because it seems easy. You set it and walk away. But here's the trouble. If you have dogs, cats, chickens, or children anywhere near the area, you have just introduced something genuinely dangerous into their world. And even if you keep them clear of the bait itself, here's what happens. The mouse eats the poison. The mouse does not die right there. It wanders off into a wall cavity behind a cabinet under the floor, somewhere you cannot reach, and then it dies there. And for the next 3 to 4 weeks, you have the smell of a rotting carcass drifting through your home or your shop, and there is nothing you can do about it but wait. I will not do that. I have lived through that smell, and I would not wish it on anyone. Sticky traps. I have tried them. Here is what happens. A mouse steps on one, gets one paw stuck, and drags the trap away. You never see that trap again. Or a rat steps on one, a trap that was never even made for an animal that size, and it walks off with the whole thing stuck to its foot and goes and eats the trap somewhere behind your wall. That is your money gone and your problem still right there. Now here's what I want you to do instead. Method number 1, the simple wooden snap trap. I know you have seen these. You can get them at any hardware store, any farm supply, any dollar store. They cost next to nothing. Now, this is the most common trap in the world, and a lot of folks will tell you it does not work because the mice keep stealing the bait without setting it off. And they are right, that does happen. And I am going to tell you exactly how to fix it. The best bait you can use is peanut butter. Not cheese, not bread, not bacon. Peanut butter. And here is why. Look at the trigger on a snap trap. There is a little metal plate, and if you look closely, there is a hole that goes right through it. What you do is take your knife, or a little stick, or whatever you have, and you take a dab of peanut butter and you push it down into that hole. Push it through. Pack it in there. You are not just smearing it on the surface, where a clever little tongue can lick it clean without pressing down. You are forcing them to push and work at that trigger to get the peanut butter out of that hole, and that pressure is what sets the trap off. But here's the part most folks miss, and this is what I believe increases your catch rate tenfold. There is a little metal lever, the holding bar, that latches across the trigger to keep the trap set. Put a little dab of peanut butter on that lever too. Now you have given them 2 reasons to interact with the mechanism. Even if they manage to clean the trigger without setting it off, and some of them are remarkably good at that, they will work on that holding bar next. And when that bar moves, the trap fires. You have just doubled your chances with 1 extra dab of peanut butter. Now, where you put these matters as much as how you bait them. Remember what I told you about thigmotaxis. Mice run along edges. Put your trap right where the floor meets the wall, with the trigger end facing the wall. Do not put it out in the middle of the room. A mouse may never find it there. Put it in the corner, along the baseboard, right in the runway they are already using. And here is something else. Do not use just one. Take 2 or 3 traps and set them right in a row, side by side, or back to back. Mice often travel in groups of 2 or 3. I have had nights where I caught 2 mice at once in a line of traps. And sometimes what happens is a mouse will trigger one trap and dodge it, and it jumps right into the next one. I have seen that more times than I can count. These traps are so cheap there is no reason not to use several together. Line them up along that wall edge like a little fence, and let the numbers work in your favor. Now for you folks down in warmer climates, you in the Gulf states, you in Texas, you in the Southeast, you may be dealing with mice year-round because they never get driven inside by a hard freeze. You just have a constant low level of activity. These traps work the same for you, but check them more often because in the heat, things get unpleasant faster. For you up north where the winters bite, in Minnesota, in Manitoba, in Scotland, in Scandinavia, you know that fall is when the real invasion starts. As soon as the nights turn cold, every mouse within 200 feet of your building is looking for a way in. Set your traps in September and keep them set through March. Do not wait for the first sighting. By then, you are already behind. That is method one. Simple, cheap, and when you bait it properly and place it where the trails are, it works beautifully. But it catches them one or two at a time, and sometimes you need more than that. Which brings me to method two. This is the one that made me smile the first morning I checked it. The bucket trap. You take a standard 5-gallon bucket, the kind you can get at any hardware store or building supply. You fill it with water to about 4 to 5 inches deep. Now you take a tin can, a soup can, a bean can, whatever you have, and you drill a hole through the bottom of the can. Then you drill a hole through each side of the bucket, near the top, on opposite sides. You run a piece of wire, a straight piece of stiff wire, through one side of the bucket through the hole in the can and out the other side of the bucket. Bend the wire on both ends so it cannot slip through. Now that can is suspended across the top of the bucket on a wire axle, and it spins freely. I give it a tap. It should rotate with almost no resistance. Now you smear peanut butter all around the outside of that can. Next you need a ramp, just a long stick, a piece of scrap wood, a board, anything a mouse can climb. I put a small nail in the back end of mine so it hooks over the rim of the bucket and does not slide off. Lean the ramp up against the edge of the bucket and put a little peanut butter along the ramp too, a dab here, a dab there, leading them up like a trail. Now I want you to think like a mouse for a moment. You are running along the floor of a shop in the dark. You smell peanut butter. You follow the smell to the base of this ramp. There is a little taste right there. Wonderful. You climb a little higher. There is more. You keep climbing. You reach the top and you can see the can, and it is covered in peanut butter, more than you have ever seen in one place. You step out onto that can and the can spins and you are in the water. That is it. That is the whole trap. I have had mornings where I came out and found 5 mice in that bucket from a single night. 5. And here is what is remarkable about this trap. They do not learn from each other. You would think the second mouse would see the first one in the water and turn around, but they do not. They smell the peanut butter and they go. Every single time. Now this works for rats too, but if you are trapping rats, fill the bucket a couple more inches deeper. The idea is that they cannot touch the bottom and keep their head above water. A rat is bigger and can stand taller, so you need that extra depth. Here's the part I want you to know about if you are in a cold climate, if you are in Ontario where I am, or up in Alberta, or in the northern states, or over in northern Europe, and the temperature drops below freezing, that water is going to become a block of ice. A mouse falls on a block of ice and jumps right back off. So what I do is add just a small amount of antifreeze, just enough to keep the water from freezing solid. Now I want to be clear about the safety here. Antifreeze is toxic. It is toxic to dogs, cats, and to people. If you have pets or small children who can access this bucket, do not use antifreeze. Find another way to keep it from freezing, or bring the bucket to a sheltered spot where it stays above freezing, a basement, a root cellar, anywhere that stays a few degrees above zero. But in a shop or a barn where your animals and children do not go, a small amount of antifreeze solves the freezing problem completely. Where you place this bucket matters. Put it in a corner if you can, right in the corner of the building where 2 walls meet. Remember, mice travel along edges, and a corner is an intersection. It is the busiest spot on their highway. The ramp goes against one wall, and the bucket sits right there in the corner, and you have put your trap in the place with the most traffic. For you in warmer places, you in Australia, you in the southern United States, you in the Mediterranean, you will not have the freezing problem, but you will want to change the water every few days because it will go foul quickly in the heat, and foul water puts off the scent of the peanut butter. Keep it fresh. Keep that peanut butter smell strong, and the trap does the rest. Now, before I get to the third method, and this is the one I told you about at the beginning, the one that cost nothing and changed everything, I want to stop here and be honest with you about something, because honesty is worth more to me than impressive. These first 2 methods are catchers. They catch mice and rats that are already inside your building. They are very good at that, and I stand behind them completely. But they do not keep new ones from coming in. If you have a gap under your door, if you have a crack in your foundation, if you have a hole the size of a dime anywhere in your wall, and a mouse can fit through a hole that small, then you will keep catching new ones forever. So the honest truth is that trapping alone is not a complete solution. You also need to walk your building, find the gaps, and seal them. Steel wool packed into small holes works well because mice will not chew through it. Hardware cloth over larger openings. Weather stripping under doors. I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. So I am telling you that trapping and sealing work together. One without the other is half a job. Now, method 3, this is the one. I started doing this a little over 7 weeks ago, and I have not had a single mouse or a single rat since. I know this because I have had snap traps and bucket traps set and baited with fresh peanut butter this entire time, and not one of them has been touched. The peanut butter is sitting right there untouched. If there were mice in the building, they would have found it within the first night. They have not. Here's what I did. I turned on a radio. That is it. I turned on a radio and I left it on. When I am in the shop working, the radio is on. When I leave the shop, I leave the radio on. All night long, all day long, the radio plays. And the mice and rats stopped coming. Now, I know that sounds almost too simple, but think about what a mouse knows. A mouse knows that when there is a human being in a room talking and moving and making noise, that is the most dangerous place the mouse can be. What the radio does is simulate a human presence at all times. There are voices, there is music, there is unpredictable sound. To a mouse, that is indistinguishable from a person being there. And so they do not come in, they find somewhere else to go. Now, I want to take a moment because this is the part that matters. Think about why you have never heard this before. Think about why the big pest control companies, the ones running those monthly subscription services, the ones selling you electronic ultrasonic plug-in devices for $30 or $40 a piece, have never once told you to just leave a radio on. It is not because it does not work. I have 7 weeks of untouched peanut butter that says it works. It is because there is no money in telling you to do something free. There is no money in a solution you already own. A pest control company does not stay in business by telling you to plug in a $5 radio from the thrift shop. They stay in business by coming back every month, charging you every month, selling you refills every month. And the poison companies do not stay in business by telling you to make noise. They stay in business by selling you more poison. I am not saying those people are bad people. I am saying that there is no profit in the simple answer, and when there is no profit, the simple answer does not get advertised. It just gets quietly forgotten while the expensive answer gets a commercial. My grandmother did not have a radio, but she had a kitchen that was never quiet. There was always someone in that kitchen from before dawn until after supper. There were voices, there were pots, there were children, and I never once saw a mouse in my grandmother's kitchen. Not once. Her pantry, on the other hand, a cold, quiet room at the back of the house where no one spent much time. That was where the traps went. She knew this. She did not call it a method. She just knew that mice do not go where the people are. Now, if you are thinking about this and wondering whether the mice might eventually get used to the sound and come back, that is a fair question, and I want to be honest. I cannot tell you it works forever because I have only been doing it for 7 weeks. What I can tell you is that 7 weeks is a longer run than I have ever had before, with zero activity in a building full of feed and tools and hiding spots. And what I would say to you is try it. Try it alongside your traps. Leave the traps set as your backup and let the radio do the front line work. If after a few months you start seeing activity again, write me a comment and tell me. I would rather give you a straight answer than a guarantee I cannot keep. That is how I am built. I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. For the radio, it does not matter what station you play. I am fairly sure the mice are not particular about the music. You can play classic rock, you can play country, you can play talk radio. What matters is that there is continuous, varied human-sounding noise. A steady hum or a tone will not have the same effect as voices and changing rhythms. If you are off-grid like we are, a small battery-powered radio works just fine. You can run one for weeks on a set of batteries. If you are on the grid, just plug it in and leave it. So here's what I want you to do this week. This is your plan. Step 1, get yourself some wooden snap traps. 5 or 6 of them. They cost almost nothing. Bait them with peanut butter pushed down into the hole on the trigger and put a dab of peanut butter on the holding lever too. Set them along your walls in the corners, 2 or 3 side by side. Check them every morning. Step 2, build yourself a bucket trap. 1 5-gallon bucket, a piece of wire, a tin can with a hole drilled in the bottom, 4 to 5 inches of water, a ramp with some peanut butter leading up and peanut butter smeared on the can. Put it in a corner. If you are in a freezing climate and there are no pets or children around, add a little antifreeze to keep the water liquid. Check it every morning. Step 3. Get a radio. Put it in the building where you are having trouble. Turn it on, leave it on, day and night. Let it talk to the mice for you. Do all 3 together and you have a system. The radio keeps the new ones from wanting to come in. The traps and the bucket catch any brave or desperate ones that come anyway. And while you are at it, walk your building and seal every gap and crack you can find with steel wool and hardware cloth. That is the whole thing. No subscription, no contract, no monthly cost, just a few dollars in traps, a bucket you already own, and a radio. Now I want to hear from you. What is the worst mouse or rat situation you have ever dealt with? I mean the real story, the one that made you say, enough is enough. Write it in the comments. And if you try this, any of the 3, come back and tell me what happened. Tell me how many you caught in the bucket that first morning. Tell me how long the radio kept them out. And if your grandmother or your mother had her own way of handling mice, I want to hear that too. Write it down. Those old ways disappear when nobody passes them on, and these comments can be the place where we keep them. I read every single one of these. You know, before Amish boys ever followed their fathers into the barn, they learned with their hands at home, from their mothers, from their grandmothers, working the iron, trapping the mice, sealing the cracks, making the simple things do the work of 10. Most of what folks call men's wisdom started in a woman's kitchen, in a woman's pantry, in a woman's hands. The people who built things with their hands already knew what the rest of the world is only starting to remember. And that is that the simple way is not the lesser way. It is the way that lasts. I am Anna Mae. Thank you for sitting with me today.